My sister framed me as a thief and turned our family against me. Now they're begging for forgiveness while facing IRS investigations. My sister teasingly said, "Don't show your face at Dad's 50th. You bring shame," after I had paid $9,700 in expenditures. She hissed, "You earn $18 an hour and believe you are important?" I grinned and canceled the venue, catering, decor, and all credit lines. "No face, no party," I said. I received 101 missed calls from nearly every guest in a few hours. "Don't you dare show your face at Dad's 50th, Michael." Vanessa's voice sliced like a razor into my quiet. When I picked up, she didn't even wait for me to greet her. It didn't surprise me. Most of our chats these days, if you could call them conversations at all, went like this. She went on to say, "You bring shame to this family," in a disgusted tone. "You make $18 an hour and you actually think you deserve to be there? Pathetic." My jaw tensed, but I remained silent. Words are weapons in my family, and Vanessa was always armed to the teeth, as I discovered long ago. "Michael," she continued, "you don't belong at the country club. You'll embarrass Dad. All his friends will be there. People with real careers, real money. Not some low-level IT nobody who lives paycheck to paycheck." For a minute, I closed my eyes, allowing her words to envelop me like they always had. The subtle embarrassment, the old hurt, and the reminder that my efforts were never sufficient. However, something was different this time. I finally said, "Vanessa," in a firm voice. "I paid for this entire party. The venue, the catering, the decorations. Almost 10 grand out of my own pocket." She chuckled. To be honest, I laughed. I had heard that condescending, mocking chuckle since we were young. "Oh please, you should be grateful we even let you pay," she grumbled. "You think that buys you a seat at the table? No, Michael. You're the help. That's all you've ever been. No face, no party." Her words kept repeating in my mind. They're all slapping each other. I had already experienced this kind of treatment. I had been the one keeping everything together for years, picking up the pieces, paying the bills, and making the sacrifices. And each time I kept telling myself that perhaps, just possibly, this would be the day that they would finally accept me as a member of the family. However, they never did. I forced myself to remain calm as I gently breathed. Something was shattering inside though. Or perhaps, at last, it was being reconstructed. I grinned because the choice had been made, not because I thought it was humorous. "No face, no party," I said quietly again. "Got it." I hung up after saying that. What none of them knew, and what Vanessa didn't know, was that I wasn't going to accept it this time. I had finished their game this time. They were going to find out just how much power I actually have this time. I believed I was helping for years. I see now that I was feeding a monster. It began modestly, it always does. The golden kid had always been Vanessa. The ideal daughter. The bright spot. And me? I was just Michael. The one in charge. The person who wired the money, cleaned up the mess, and never inquired. However, Vanessa. She was skilled at playing everyone. Following her third failed relationship and another job that she somehow lost unfairly, she experienced financial difficulties once more last year. She sobbed as she called and said she was unable to pay her credit cards. "Michael, you know I'd never ask if it wasn't serious. I'm trying, but life's been so unfair lately." I made the payment. I always did. But she was telling another story behind my back. My Aunt Diane stopped returning my calls, which is when I realized the transition had occurred. Then Uncle Frank began responding to me in the family group chat with icy one-word responses. Even Mom's texts eventually become more aloof. I initially believed that I was dreaming, and that perhaps they were simply preoccupied. However, when my cousin Matthew unintentionally sent me a screenshot from another group chat, the reality hit me like a ton of bricks. Vanessa wrote, "Michael's not well. He's been stealing from Vanessa for months. We're worried about him. He's so resentful of our success. He's trying to turn the family against me." There. It was as simple as day. She was causing them poisoning. For a minute I was unable to breathe. Is it theft? Her debts were paid by me. She wasn't done though. It intensified a few weeks later. Suddenly my dad called me. His voice was icy. Not the same. "Son, we need to talk. Your sister told us everything. If you're struggling, just admit it. But dragging Vanessa down, that's unacceptable." I made an effort to clarify. I made an effort to be honest with them. that I had spent years helping her. However, they refused to listen. Mom interrupted. Why would Vanessa lie? She's your sister. Family doesn't lie. That's what they always say. Family is honest. But they were constantly lying. Then the phony evidence surfaced. How she did it is beyond me. Perhaps a tech-savvy friend or a cheap app. However, Vanessa managed to produce screenshots of text messages that appeared to show me threatening her, demanding money back, and even using derogatory language I never used. She even had audio recordings, voice recordings that have been edited, spliced and altered. My voice was pieced together from previous voicemails. In one I almost yelled, "You owe me, you're worthless." Those were phrases I had never spoken. Never. However, the tone and timestamps were all meticulously crafted to appear authentic. And it was sufficient for my parents. Dad stated, "You need help, Michael," during one of our final phone conversations. "We won't let you ruin Vanessa's life any further." I ended the call. They didn't want the truth, I recognized then. They desired a villain. Vanessa also gave them one. Meanwhile, the planning of the celebration went on without me. Vanessa assumed complete command. Every day she shared updates on Facebook, including images of the location, the custom cake taste, and floral arrangements. Each post concluded in the same manner. All for Dad. I spared no expense because family means everything. The comments came flooding in. "You're amazing, Jess. Your brother could learn a thing or two." As if I didn't exist, I silently observed my own family members cheering her on with love reactions and emoticons. As if I hadn't spent almost $10,000 on this party that they acted like hers. However, Vanessa committed a single error. Her digital fingerprints are all over the place. The payment receipts were still with me. All in my name. The wire moves. Everything connected to my accounts, including the bills from the caterer, florist, and event coordinator. I kept everything. Each and every screenshot. Every message. Each transfer. All lies. The last public humiliation followed. My Uncle Henry made the following message in the family chat 2 days before to the celebration. "It's a shame Michael won't be at the party. Maybe it's for the best. He's been unstable lately." Aunt Diane then added, "Vanessa worked so hard for this, Michael would have just made it uncomfortable." They weren't only leaving me out. I was being erased. Vanessa had prevailed. Or so she believed. The intended purpose was a laid-back coffee cafe. Neutral territory. However, I went with the Glass House, a tiny, peaceful botanical cafe hidden behind a downtown antique bookshop. Soft instrumental music is playing over the mutter of distant voices, and there are bright glass walls with lush green plants hanging from every corner. It appeared to be innocuous. Calm. Peace was going to die here today, which is why I chose it. Together they arrived. As usual, Dad took the lead. Tense shoulders, piercing gaze, chilly, clipped voice. Despite the fact that we were indoors, Vanessa followed him while wearing sunglasses. As usual, Mom lingered in between, trying to read the air with anxiously darting eyes. They took a seat on the other side of me. Dad fired the first shot before anyone else spoke. "Michael, let's not waste everyone's time. You've caused enough damage. Your sister has been through hell because of your accusations. This ends today." His voice was sharp but low as he leaned forward. "You're our son, but you need to take responsibility for what you've done. You've embarrassed this family." Like the queen she believed herself to be, Vanessa grinned and crossed her arms. Mom just said in a whisper, "Please, let's have a calm conversation." I didn't wince. I spent months getting ready for this. I put a heavy folder on the table and pushed it carefully toward the center without saying anything. "Before we pretend who the victim is, let's look at the facts." Dad laughed. "What is this, Michael?" Calmly. "Receipts," I said. I opened the folder. A timeline is inside. Transactions were printed neatly, bank records, the venue, catering, and decoration invoices. "I paid for the party," I stated bluntly. "My name is on everyone. Every dime. Vanessa hasn't spent a penny." Vanessa's mouth tensed. I continued. "Here are the credit card payments I made to cover her debt last year. Here are the bank transfers I sent every month when Dad's investments collapsed. Here are the text messages where Vanessa asked for help, not the ones she fabricated." I tapped the page that followed. She produced color prints of the altered screenshots. I brought the originals and the fake ones, side by side. "It's impressive how far you went to create your little story, Vanessa." Vanessa's expression wavered. She moved in her seat but said nothing. Dad's voice lifted. Enough of this crap, Michael. You're twisting everything. These are misunderstandings. Old issues, you're making it worse. Are they? I inquired, remaining composed. I reached into my pocket and took out a USB stick. This is a recovery from Vanessa's own hard drive. She never deletes anything, including her audio montages. I hit the play button on my laptop. Broken, badly edited voice clips abound in the cafe. Spliced, chopped, my voice. Choppy changes. Then I said, "You're worthless. You ruin everything." The next one. It was obvious to anyone listening that it was phony. A poor word collage. Vanessa's expression went white. Mom finally said something at that point, forceful but quiet. "Vanessa? Is this true?" Vanessa stopped. She parted her lips, then shut them again. Her lip quivered. She stammered, I didn't mean for it to get this far. He was trying to turn you against me. I had to protect myself." "By inventing threats?" I responded. Dad attempted to intervene. "Michael's always been unstable. You know how sensitive he gets." Mom interrupted him though. She was steady, but her voice cracked. "No, Mark. No more. I can't keep pretending. I've seen enough." She turned to face Vanessa. "I defended you because you're my daughter, but this is sick." Panic flooded Vanessa's gaze. "Mom, don't do this. You used him, you lied. You twisted everything," she said in a broken voice. "And we let you." It was ruthless silence. Vanessa sprang to her feet, snatched up her handbag, and rushed out of the cafe, pushing past a waiter. A number of patrons turned to observe. Dad's fists clenched. He gave me a growl and asked, "Are you happy now?" "Not happy," was my response. "Done." Anger filled his face. But before he could speak another word, Mom took hold of his arm. She was so tired, not angry, that tears streamed down her cheeks as she gazed at me. "I'm sorry, Michael." I got to my feet. "It's too late, sorry." I then departed. Behind me, in the hushed remains of their shattered falsehoods, stood the ideal little glass cafe. I would never be under their power again. The encounter at the glass house was just the start. I knew one thing when I left that cafe. They would reassemble if I left them standing. They did it every time. For them, lies were like oxygen. They would suffocate if the supply were cut off. I had no intention of leaving any air. I had a meeting with my lawyer 2 days later. Claire was her name. Brilliant, cold, and just the type of person you want to hire after you've had enough of being nice. I put everything on the table as we sat in her downtown office, including fraud documents, audio files, fake texts, and financial information. The entire collection of years they believed I would not discuss. Claire did not blink as she flipped through the folders. She stated bluntly, "They're going to regret underestimating you." The first round of lawsuits was filed the following morning. Deception, theft of identity, slander, financial abuse, fraud via wire. A full-scale, lawful artillery attack. The first person served was Vanessa. When she opened the envelope, how did she look? Priceless. Within 48 hours she stopped posting on social media. Then Dad arrived. Everything was uncovered by Claire's team, including the business loans co-signed with fake signatures, the unpaid taxes, and the retirement money he embezzled under my name. Within a week the IRS launched a parallel probe. He made an effort to defend himself. Sent irate SMS and threatening voicemails. "You want to destroy your own family? You'll regret this, Michael." I didn't answer. My lawyer did. All further communication must go through legal counsel. Mom was the first to break. After 3 weeks, she wrote me a lengthy, heartfelt email. "Michael, I know things got out of hand. We're still your parents. We can fix this. You don't have to go this far. Family should forgive, not punish. Please talk to me." I didn't directly respond. Claire returned a single sentence. "All negotiations will be handled through our office." The walls were closing in on them all by the second month. Vanessa was charged with identity theft and evidence falsification. While the investigation was ongoing, the judge put a halt to her statements. Overnight, her life as an influencer disappeared. She put a desperate GoFundMe link before removing it, and that was the last thing I saw. No one made a donation. The blow to Dad was even more severe. Fines were imposed by the IRS. His business license was revoked by the state. Loans went into default once the banks called. Like a sandcastle in the tide, his real estate business, which he had founded on conceit and deceit, fell apart. An old family friend told me that in order to pay for the escalating legal bills, he sold his property in a matter of weeks. They tugged threads behind closed doors for years, always believing I was too helpless to resist. Once they were correct. No more. My lawyer gave me the last update over the phone at the conclusion of the third month. We're finished. Vanessa narrowly escaped going to jail by accepting a plea deal that included steep fines and long-term financial limitations after entering her pleas to multiple offenses. Dad consented to a large settlement, which included payment for the years of deception that were carried out in your name. My hands briefly trembled when I noticed the balance of the entire compensation that had been deposited into my account. The money wasn't even the main factor. It was the quiet that followed. Not a single call, message, or drama for the first time in years. They had vanished. I had freedom. I made an appointment with the courthouse a month later. It was silent and swift. When I signed the documents, the clerk hardly raised her head. I altered my last name with a single signature. I abandoned the moniker they had used to manipulate me and tarnish me with their falsehoods. It was now solely theirs, and their failure. I felt a weight finally leave my chest as I walked out of that courthouse into the brilliant morning light. I was out of hiding. I wasn't erased by them. I was formed by them. I imagined that liberation would feel like anger, triumph, or retribution. However, it seemed to be quiet. Silence was lovely too. I never woke up to texts requesting money for the first time in my life. No voicemails that make you feel guilty. No signals of concern that are actually passive-aggressive. Simply be silent. As well as her. 3 months after the legal dust cleared, I got to meet Emily. I wasn't even searching for anything at first. I was still reconstructing myself, not just my life. Without the incessant din of my family's expectations, I hardly knew who I was. However, she noticed me. Not me in my damaged state. Not the antagonist that my sister depicted. Not the failure my dad made fun of. Me. After I eventually moved into a place that was all mine, we sat together one evening in my apartment. Only my name appears on the documents. As she silently leafed through the folder I'd shown no one else, the warm city light flooded through the windows. The whole history. The falsehoods. The legal actions. Devastation. The resurrection. I kept a close eye on her face while she read. When she did look up, her eyes were filled with admiration, rather than fear or sympathy. She said, "No one ever realized how strong you are. And stronger than you think." I didn't believe it until then. The months went by like chapters that I never imagined I would be able to write. Together, we constructed something. Easy. Sincerely, actual. Coffee runs in the morning, walks late at night, and lengthy conversations about everything and nothing. She never made any requests. She never gave me the impression that I owed her anything in return for her devotion. However, the past always wants to reappear, much like decay. It began modestly. An email from an unidentified sender. Then I received an SMS from an unfamiliar number. Then another. And yet another. Mom. My dad. Vanessa too. Their voices sounded like a frantic chorus. "We've made mistakes. Let's move forward. Family is forever. You've proven your point. Can we start fresh? Don't let outsiders poison your blood." Outsiders. It was a word that told it all. Because Emily was not under their control, they continued to view her as a threat, since she didn't participate in their game. One evening, I warned her. "They'll keep trying." She grinned and said, "Then we'll keep ignoring them." And we did. We strolled through the downtown streets hand in hand one evening as summer finally gave way to fall. The walkways were adorned with dazzling reds and golds from the leaves. Her palm felt warm to me despite the frigid weather. I used to avoid the Riverwalk since it was full of memories of what I felt I had lost, but we stopped close to it. It was just another lovely vista now. She leaned close to me. She whispered, "Do you ever regret cutting them off?" I paused to reflect. "No," I replied. "Because I never really cut them off. They cut themselves off the moment they chose to break me." She gave my hand a squeeze. "And they failed." I grinned. Not resentful. Not upset. Simply free. That night the phone buzzed again. One more email. One more appeal. I didn't even crack it open. Rather, I pulled out my camera, raised it, and snapped a photo of us. Just standing there. Grinning. Alive. Everything my family never understood was represented in the picture. You don't get peace by default. You have to battle for it. I whispered, partly to myself but loud enough for her to hear, as we made our way back home under the city lights. They tried to bury me. Instead, I bloomed. I meant it too. Every single syllable.